A bit miserable this week. Luckily it's our only one of the week. Yeah. Alright, culture shock. Let's continue the journey. We looked yesterday at this list. And what did we get from the survey? The symptoms were boredom was big, it's an 11. Desire for home came up with an 11. And lack of confidence. How many did that score? 6, was it? Yeah. Okay, thanks. Yeah, so those are the big ones. Loss of identity was next, I think, wasn't it? ID, which is abbreviated. Yeah. So, we didn't get a lot of, we were finishing off and didn't get a lot of time. I mean, anybody want that was, I mean, that one's just, as I said, kind of self-explanatory, isn't it, and expected.
Stress, it was one of the highest stress.
Stressors?
No,
Physiological. Physiological reactions, yeah. I can't remember how many that scored. But
I think it was 9.
yeah, so like, well, it comes out in the body. So, skin, hair, sleep, you know. Anybody have these sort of reactions?
Butterflies during exams.
Hey?
Butterflies during exams.
Yeah, that's right. A butterfly in the stomach, yeah, it's mental stress coming out of his body, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah. These, they in the past certainly have been pretty common. Also, eating. Anybody eating more Big Macs than they were before?
I gain weight all the time.
No, first I came to Australia and lost 10 kilos.
You lost. Right, that's an interesting one. Really?
Oh, I put away 20 kilos.
I lost about 15 because I couldn't eat. You lost
yeah, that's
10
right.
kilos.
Like
I couldn't.
to calm the eat.
Yeah, I feel like to eat all the time.
Right.
Seems to be busy, mouthy, and then...
I think when you are stressed, you are getting to eat. You like to eat a lot.
So why have you lost, Marley? Is that stress or is that...
No, depression, not the stress.
Okay.
If I had
Right,
stress, I wanted to eat, but I had depression.
I see. Yeah. That's often the
When I went back to my country, my mom said, and all my aunties said, oh my God, what happened with you?
I'm just going to put this one up because we're talking about culture shock. And I think there's a problem with that grammar.
Went back.
Go back to now to
Went back to my country.
I think you need to change the language. Well, I should say there's a problem with the language.
Home country. You cannot say home country.
Own country?
Home.
Home, yeah.
Home.
Okay. Or native. Why? What if you say that?
because Australia will become another country after citizen became citizen.
That's right. This is your country.
Your country, yeah. Because
If you say my country, it means you don't own
My home
this
country.
country. And like seriously, like
And also,
part of cultural adaptation is to think of this place as yours.
yes.
And if you keep saying in English, and it's a very, very common thing, my country, my country, my country, that means your head and your heart is there. You know, and you're constructing that grammatically to yourself over and over and over. So I try to be aware of this and say, you might have noticed I say your native country. I don't say your country.
they're supposed to put the statement in the end, what sort of exactly you're talking about.
Yeah,
Make
you
it
know,
easy.
even that word is a bit problematic, isn't it? Because home is here, that's right. Well, you know, depends psychologically where is home, you know, more and more, hopefully it's here. So that's why I think, what does native actually mean?
Origin.
Yeah, that nat means birth. think postnatal, prenatal, the word nation means in place of birth, country of birth. So, yeah, where you were born, that's really all we're saying. There's no emotional kind of connection with the word. So it's probably best, I think that's probably your best choice there.
Native.
Because, yeah, language not only reflects psychology, but it constructs it as well. If you construct that continuously to yourself, you know, it's a bit of a barrier, isn't it?
Can I say, I went back to Hong Kong last year.
The name of
Yeah, sure. I mean, that's just a neutral statement, isn't it? You're not really sort of talking about. Yeah, so, I mean, we didn't have a lot of discussion around these. Would people like to throw in any more about, well, what about that one? We talked about Adelaide, of course. That's the main reason.
Do you believe
the first thing
Adelaide
I
is more
scared
comfort
me?
city?
When I first landed, I can't see anybody on the street. I was so
Yeah.
scared.
Yeah.
They trapped me in the board line. Nobody on the street.
Yeah, nobody on the streets, yes.
Because they are not there 24
The streets are
hours.
empty, aren't they? The streets are empty. I remember when I lived in China and then briefly, and then came back here, and then one of those teachers came out. I picked her up from the airport. We left the airport. She said, "There are more cars than people on the streets."
Exactly.
And then China, of course, in most places the other way around. And there are less cars. I mean, there are quite a lot of cars now, but 15 years ago there were less, and clearly many, many more people than cars.
Yeah, when I arrived in Adelaide, I always take the photo in the street. I always say, "Oh, blue sky, beautiful tree," and most of my friends just add the notice under my photo is no person.
No person, not any person.
So, I mean, so is that one of the reasons?
Yeah, no social.
Even
Not
from
social,
Asian
yeah.
country, yes.
Yes.
Even from Europe, it's different,
And
isn't
the other
it?
thing I
Europe is
noticed,
almost same.
And what?
and the other thing I noticed in my country, if we,
My native country.
yeah,
My native
when
country.
we meet someone in the street, maybe we don't know each other, but still we smile and do some. We look at each other, but here I think it's not.
It's
Yeah.
cultural.
You mean just anyone passing on the
Yeah,
street?
we just give a smile.
Yeah.
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 But
Do you know,
here it's
one of my friends, I told
One of
you,
my
one of my friends,
Good job, John. Please correct us.
and then because we all business migration here, and then everybody keep on move back to Hong Kong and doing business with China or something like that. And I said, please stay here, keep Adelaide more busy. And then you know what did they say? You try 7 to 8 o'clock, use your machine gun, try to open it. You cannot kill one person. Your machine gun. How can I live in here? You tell me. And then I was thinking, oh, it's right.
Yeah. And look, it
Because of
doesn't
the
really.
population. The
Sorry.
population is low. It's not just about being quiet or not having any entertainment. I think when the people are not populating and crowding somewhere, you cannot find anyone to talk.
But Sydney has probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 million.
It's
people.
still like Adelaide.
Well, Adelaide's got what, 1 million? 1.2, yeah.
Like
You mean the
TV.
I
social
mean,
life?
if we take Sydney, you know, 4 or 5 million. I mean, I bet there are plenty of cities in Iran that are smaller than that, but there's a lot more people on the street.
Yeah.
It's more the way the cities are designed and how people use them, isn't it, rather than just absolute numbers of people, I think. I mean, really, that effect, you go to Sydney, Melbourne, anywhere, it's the same. You won't, I mean, obviously in the centre of Sydney there are more on the main streets, shopping or whatever, but we're talking about suburbs, where you actually live. They're very quiet.
John, I think if you come from a big city, then Adelaide would be very difficult to live in. But if you come from a small city or a small like a village or a town, then you know you'll adapt quickly. It really depends.
Yeah.
Like I remember my brother-in-law. He moved a lot. Like he lived in big cities because of his jobs. Like he did his studies in Emirates and then he went to Qatar and he worked there. And then when he came to Adelaide, he found it really difficult because it's a small city. Because he lived like all his season in various areas. Like he grew all his life in Egypt, and then he went to Dubai to do his uni studies, and then he went to Qatar, and all his life he lived in big cities. So when he came to Adelaide, he found it really difficult. It's quiet, it's not packed. And then he got a job in Melbourne. He went to Melbourne and he likes it there. He's like, you know what? You know, I'm used to it. Like it's a big city. Like you know, it's alive. Yeah.
Sure.
You know, I have a friend of mine. He lived in I think in Kenya, in Nairobi, in a village. Like it's very social. The village, like you interact with people and stuff like that. But when he came here, the lifestyle was a bit different. It's more like kind of like high tech. Like he adapted here. So it really depends if you come from a developing place or if it's not a big city, like if it's a village, then it's different circumstances.
Sure, yeah. People perceive it very differently depending on where you're from.
But if you come from a place where it's a big city, very multicultural packed, then it would be very hard to adapt to somewhere quiet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if there is this boredom, you know, connected partly with the geography of the city, how do you solve that problem?
You just need to walk around because from my experience, I didn't have car for 3 years, so I have to push my trolley bag from my home to Woolworths. I walk every day around 500 meters because I couldn't walk quickly. Meters. So because I couldn't walk quickly, so I stand in front of every gate. And I make friendship with all the older lady who worked.
All the ladies
who were working in the garden. After 3 years, I bought car. After that, I lost all my friendship, and I miss them because even to walk from your home to garden to park, and you will find many ladies bring her bits to running, and you will find a good social network.
That's a good point, isn't it? Like the suburbs here are designed around the car. That isolates people, and many other societies are much more lacking in cars, aren't they? Which increases social networks.
John,
very good point.
Before I forgot, I did say friend, but I say one of my friend. One
of my friends.
Why do you say one of my friends?
Because you
now, I'll ask you a personal question, Lynn. Have you got more than one friend?
Yes.
Good. I'm glad to hear that.
But I specifically say one of my friends.
Yeah, one of.
I mean, I talk to one person.
One of.
Okay.
One of friends. You choose one to speak about.
For example, if you have 3 sons, you say one of my sons.
See those pens in there? I want you to take one of those pens.
Okay.
All right, they're like your friends. It's a set, isn't it?
Do you say
so
one
you're
of
talking about
my
that
son?
friend.
Okay.
So that is a group.
But if
It's
like
plural.
that, I don't have to say one of. I will say I have been talk to my friends.
That's
One,
all
all
your friends.
friends.
You can say, I talked to a friend. That's another way of saying the same thing. I talked to a friend and she said, I talked to one of mine. As soon as you say one of a
A
group,
bunch of.
it has to be a group, doesn't it? One of my. It's a very common error around that structure. It's not just you. It's one of the most common plural errors.
What about friend of mine?
A friend
A
of
friend
mine.
of mine.
Same.
Yeah, different structure. Different structure.
I don't have to say one friends.
Or John, can you believe one of the factors for the boredom in Adelaide is I think the most population are elder people.
More social than younger. More social.
Yes, but
And
you know,
they have time to speak with
What's
you.
another name for Adelaide?
you know, when I came to
Is
Adelaide,
it Garden State?
The Garden State, that sounds nice. The City of
The
Churches.
festival estate, festival
Or,
estate.
as you were saying, everybody's old with the ageing city. So we call it that. It's not like God's waiting room. So yeah, that's why you're in Bali. It's just, you know, you're sitting waiting to
I
die.
couldn't catch the meaning of God's waiting room. What's it
Smell the
mean?
coffin.
Waiting room for die. Waiting.
Yeah.
Oh, God's waiting
Like
room.
Elysium.
Yeah.
You know, first I came,
Yeah.
I thought, where is the amusement place, like Adresho ground, going to have it in September. I said, where is it? If we have a child, if we had a child, where we could take our children to the amusement place, like the Airwheel, or there is one in Glenelg, but not a big like amusement place or.
Do you know St Kilda? St Kilda Playground? That's yeah, it's not brilliant, but it's not bad.
Many
St. Kilda.
playgrounds.
Yeah.
But it's
There are
not in a
little,
city.
little playgrounds, but big ones.
It's
You
not
have
in
to
a
go out to this place, St Kilda.
Is it Melbourne?
It's that is somewhere in Melbourne, but
In Adelaide? Is it in Adelaide?
yeah, you have to have a car, like most things in Adelaide. St Kilda is
No. It's 4 years in Adelaide. I haven't heard about St.
Yeah.
Kilda.
so there's the city of Adelaide. Okay, there's the port.
Yeah.
You have to drive up the main north road, south road, up the main north road, and then turn in there, and that area in there. So it's Salisbury's here, and so it's sort of half an hour from the city. But they've got a big outside playground with really long slippery dips and all sorts of really quite nice
Oh, we
things.
haven't heard.
Look it up.
We didn't.
Look it up on the net, and you'll get a map. And
Okay, let John take us for
Yeah.
excursion.
yeah, we've gone to the playground, kids. Yeah.
We take one lesson in there.
There is a little book. It's actually on Tuesdays in the library. The neighbour of mine wrote the book. It's just called Adelaide for Kids. So if anybody, I think I've still got it in there. If anyone wants to borrow it, it's pretty old now. It's like over 10 years old, but most of it would still be relevant. Even if you Google stuff like kids entertainment Adelaide, you get some pretty good lists actually.
Yeah, they make a like best playground in Adelaide, best
Right.
win or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and they're generally pretty good and pretty safe.
God's waiting.
Yeah. But okay, this boredom question. Okay, so given the streets are like that, you know, you could sit and cry about it, but you could also try to adapt to it.
But there is,
Oh.
mentioned, there are several meetup groups. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of that, but you can, it's an app, you can download it.
What is it, Nicole?
A meetup
Meetup.
groups.
Meet up.
Yeah,
For
there's the
example,
one like this is.
If you're looking for kind of sport activities, if you're looking for those people,
That's right.
that kind of group, then you will find it there. It has everything to offer. Various groups, for example, if you like to read, then there is a book group, called book group, where you discuss the newest books, the newest releases or whatever. And we joined a young couples group. And we met friends within 8 months, quite good friends, with 2 Australian couples in the same age as we are, and also a Dutch couple, for example. Just
Exactly.
And we're
Yeah.
catching up every month, for example, so go out and have dinner,
Yeah.
and it's a perfect way to
I mentioned it yesterday, but we'll also that app. Thanks for the example, like a real live example where it's had some success. Yeah, we can visit that on Monday in the computer room too, because you can get it as a web page and it's probably a bit easier to navigate. But yeah, so have a think over the weekend about say the top 2 or 3 kind of interests, and as I suggested, very very different kind of interests, like physical thing like sport, or if you're not into sport, something like bushwalking or whatever, and a kind of more professional area maybe, or an intellectual area, and have a few different ones and explore, well, you know, very, very different aspects of yourself. I think that's the way to deal with the boredom thing. You have to do that bit of extra work, because the geography of the city doesn't just bring it to you, you have to go and get it.
No,
Even
and
the
also-
natives have to go and get it.
And also I find out the people here got nothing to do, only complain next door the glass too tall, we've not to cancel, all that kind of things.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, look, it's a matter of inventing yourself, really, isn't it? And, you know, everyone, wherever they are, you have to invent yourself.
What's that
If
mean?
you're sitting with nothing to do, it's sort of speaking about something as an individual you want on doing.
The particular put a chair outside their front door, sitting there, watch this house, watch that, they know everything
Yeah.
on the street.
Yeah, well, at least that's creating some sort of social network in the neighbourhood. You know, that's better than sitting inside just watching television.
Yeah.
If you want to connect with the neighborhood, just hello,
Yeah.
or, you know, more friendly, to build up something, barbecue each other, like
Yeah.
that, organize
Maybe
more
that-
atmosphere.
That is position, profession,
Mm.
become watcher. I
But
think
they-
that-
They like,
every
they
time
like
I think
to
they have someone
complain.
who watch
Those are grumpy
around
old,
your area.
old people.
You know, Joe,
And as Marley said, lots of old people in Adelaide, so lots of grumpy old people.
Grumpy old
you know, Peter,
Cannot say peoples.
and
No, you can't.
No.
in our local libraries, there is many activities suitable for many ages.
That's a good point. Yeah, it's why
So-
libraries are quite
My daughter-
important community centres, aren't
Yeah.
they? And they advertise a lot of information.
Because
Yeah,
my hobby is knitting, so
yeah,
I,
right.
during weekend, during the school holiday, I went by chance to the library. I found a group of ladies
Ladies.
ladies, yes, group of ladies. Taught was teaching a young lady
Yeah.
how to knitting for their baby,
Right.
for
yeah.
their baby, or how to learn. They
Sure.
and also I found some men from my community joined to this group. I wonder what he did in this group. He told me, I came to improve my English because lady didn't stop talking for 2 hours, so I improved my listening.
Yeah, well, that's right. Often around a physical activity, there's a whole lot of talk, isn't there?
Yeah.
It's a bit like a sport, depending on the sport. If you play golf, for example, probably 99% of golf is about talking, isn't it? You hit the ball, then walk for 5 minutes, and you're talking. And then you hit the ball again, you know, most of it's talk. That's why business people play golf, because it's all about networking.
You also got the thing on the, I don't know, it's called it's like a card.
Which is it?
Car. It's like they drive
Yeah.
sometimes. I'm not sure what it's called, but it's like a car, like a golf car or something.
Ah, the cart. C-A-R-T. When you play golf, yeah, well, you can be lazy, sit on the golf cart. But then again, you'd be talking, wouldn't you? Or it's like, I used to play tennis, and you're in a team of 12 people, but there are maybe only 2 tennis courts. So most of the time you're sitting off, and you're sitting with other people. And you may not talk so much to the opposite team, because they're the enemy. But, you know, you talk to the people who you get to know in your team, and so you have a lot of conversation in something like tennis. Cricket, I don't know, cricket, if you're not batting, you're sitting waiting for 3 days. You know, there's a lot you can talk about. Then I guess if you're out on the field, then there's not much talking. You're all spread out a long way from each other. You're not talking at all for 3 days. But, you know, so if your main point is to get to know people, you know, pick your sport, because some sports are more conducive, like encourage talking and networking than others.
There is Dragon Balls, for example.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, a friend of mine's a dragon boat racer.
Dragon boats.
On the torrents, the Chinese boats. Yeah.
You hardly can find
Look, a really
Chinese
good one, and don't be, whoopsie. Don't be too underconfident about this one, is And when we look at this, we'll look at it Monday, but try possibly a book club.
Book club.
Because that's really good for like your reading development, of course. Usually it's fiction, but not always. But there are, you know, every kind of second suburb probably has a book club. And there would be one in Adelaide not far from you. People usually meet once a month, so you get a month to read the book. Then sit around for, you know, an hour, talk about the book, but then the next 2 hours, you know, people just have afternoon tea and chat and get to know each other. So
In PP Galileo, they have a club and a
true, they're often based in libraries,
club or something.
but not always. Sometimes they move around in different people's houses, which is again a more kind of social sort of environment. Yeah. So anyway, there was all sorts of things. We'll look on Monday at Meetup. It is very good, as Nicole said. It gets real results, doesn't it? That brings us to over the page. Okay, so we've explored the valley of death, and then how getting up out the other side. Here are some suggestions. It's a temporary phase, but different lengths of time for different people. You got that one? It's I'm not sure if you've got the same one. I think somebody else. That one, yeah. Look, I think I by mistake grabbed another teacher's copy of this, and it's got several pages. We're just going to do the first 4 pages. How do you overcome this? How do you get out the other side? Here are some suggestions made by different websites. I sort of compiled a bit of a list. It's a temporary phase. It's important to know there are things you can do to help so that some of these effects are minimised. Don't think this isn't going to happen to me. It can hit you, whatever culture you come from, how experienced or well-travelled you are. Having information and understanding helps, definitely. Especially if you do understand it, then I think you often realise, that thing that's happening to me, the lack of sleep, the psychosomatic reaction, whatever it is, actually it isn't me, it's my whole context. And perhaps in the last couple of days, people sharing things helps as well. Like, it's not me and my fault. It's a general issue. Here are some actions they suggest to lessen the stress. Just understanding it. Even that curve and that road map can sometimes help. The fact that there is this temporary period and there is an up and an out the other side. Keeping in touch with home, yeah. So sometimes that's required, isn't it? Getting on the Skype and connecting again. But that can be all sorts of other forms. It can be, websites associated with your native country or news or whatever, DVDs. Focus on what you can control. Yeah, we often feel out of control. So the things you can't change. You can't change the nature of the Australian suburb. Unless you get into urban planning, but that'll take 3 decades for you to build another suburb. In the meantime, how do you work around that? Or some of the suggestions like Meetup or whatever. Just ignore the geography and work out some other way of doing it. Don't invest major energy in minor problems. Do you know the saying, you make mountains out of molehills? A molehill is a little tiny hill created by an animal in Europe. That animal who digs in the ground, the mole. And you got a little pile